Oh, yes.
I'm
Same.
prepared.
I'm not ready, but like I need to get ready. All right, we're live. Hey guys. We're waiting for it to show up on our screen so we can mute the actual thing. But today, oh, it popped up for me. There we go. Today we're going to be chatting about like screenwriting. So Jessica and I both attempted to write a screenplay this month. And I have a whole list of questions for Jessica, and I'm going to share my own opinions and thoughts and feelings on that compared to novel writing and compared to other types of writing. So if you guys have also written screenplays, this will just be like a super fun conversation. And I also want to talk about resources we used and all sorts of stuff. So, but let us know first if you've written a screenplay before, if you would want to.
If you're in for that kind of torture.
That might be the first thing to say up front is that, you know, Jessica and I, neither of us had written screenplays before. And so I think we came at it from a different experience than other people. Oh, wow, I see a lot of, like Becca, I see Becca in the chat. And now Becca, I think, did both. And you can correct me, Becca, if I'm wrong, but like you were doing screenwriting at like a much younger age and like starting out with that. Like you might have started with short stories or novel writing, but like screenplays were always kind of there too. Not for Jessica and me.
Not so much.
Not so much. Yeah, I see Ashley C says, I would love to, but I never have before. Oh my gosh, we'll say hi to everyone. Hey, Phoebe. Hey, Jits. Hey, Cheryl. There's so many people. Hey, Jillian. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Super Villanova.
Excellent name.
Excellent name. Let's see. Oh, hi, another Sarah. Got 2 Sarahs this time. And hi, B, and hi, Annie. I see Cheryl says, I've never written a screenplay and I don't know if I want to. Well, this is the conversation for you. We're going to hopefully have people who have written screenplays in the comments so that we have a more balanced opinion on things.
Alicia says, I used to write fan fiction in screenplay format. I kind of did that, like when I first started, which I was like 12 or 13 though. And yeah. Like, it was just like, I didn't know how to form the sentences. So it was like an action and then what someone said, like a quote. And then so it literally was just like, I forgot until just a second.
Yeah.
Like the character's name and then like just quotation marks and then so-and-so did this. And then, so I guess I did do that, but that was, 17 years ago or more.
Well, that's reminding me that I did when I was younger. I used to we lived in this apartment complex and I used to round up all the kids and I would have written out a script for them to follow. And I'd have the actions and I'd have the little their name and then the death, and then we'd perform. So yeah, I know, of course. I had 2 younger brothers too, so I could rope them into things, and that's similar-ish. I guess that is kind of similar. Or more like a play than a movie, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
There's a lot of, Cheryl says she wrote a play for a school.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel, I'm not saying they're similar because I don't know enough to say that they're similar, but I think they're similar.
I remember which Shakespearean play did we have to read for school, but I remember, because you read the directions in that too, and it's a little bit more hit this mark and this one goes to this stage left or whatever, which I found when I was reading screenplays for movies and attempting to write it myself, that there was a lot more camera specific direction and voiceover direction than I remembered from the Shakespearean plays. I could be wrong on that, and I do think they're more similar than say novel writing, but I think there was still some difference there where I was like, oof.
For some reason, my phone is going crazy, so I'm going to turn off my notifications so we stop hearing what is all this dinging in the background? It's just.
I see Becca confirms she only wrote screenplays and teleplays in her 20s and most of her 30s. So she knows her stuff, you guys, and she does have videos. We'll get to the resource part of this, but Becca's a great resource for that if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Celine says, I think it would add such an interesting dynamic to some of my scenes. Sometimes I write things out and I just imagine what it would be like in a TV on TV or in a movie. And that's how I see it before I write something down for a novel. In my head, I'm watching a scene.
Yes.
So you would think this should have been easier than it was.
You would think it would be easy, but I think we both took the hard route, and I think that is part of the problem. I think we both went at it the wrong way.
Yes, that could be, yeah, that could be it.
That's why it's an experiment, because things can go wrong, and you just have to try again.
Yes. I do see Me 2 years ago says, I am writing a script for an audio drama, but I don't know how close that is to a screenplay. Okay, so this is the other thing. There's just so many different forms of writing that I feel like I'm constantly discovering.
Right, because I wouldn't have thought that was a thing, but when you say it, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I know I saw someone in a comment section once told me that they were writing something for like a video game. And I was like, of course you would have to have something for the video game, but like they needed the dialogue for the characters and stuff. And I was just like, oh.
Becca says it's because we did adaptations. Yes, Becca, we did. and we did really bad at it.
Well, so, okay, that's going to be my first question for you, Jessica. And like, if y'all aren't writing a screenplay, please tell us just like what you're working on. But since we were doing the experiment, Jessica, what did you write your script on? What was your screenplay on?
I chose because I could not, for some reason, my brain thought if I didn't have a concise story that I couldn't make a concise script, which I don't think is actually accurate. So I, on my desk somewhere, just picked a book that I have read more than once and know very well, which is A Semi-Definitive List of Worst Nightmares by Crystal Sutherland. And I thought I would try to adapt it. But what I found is that I love this so much as it is. The writing style and just the way that it hurt me physically to try to change it. Like, I love this as it is so much that it hurt to like try to change the words into something.
Yeah.
So I don't know how people do adaptations, especially when you're adapting work that you love. And maybe that's why like book to movie adaptations get it so wrong, because the people who really love it like can't dissect it. So they have to give it to someone that doesn't care. Maybe that's why they're also wrong. I don't know.
Wow, that's an interesting point. And I wrote mine adapting my own story, which I thought was a good idea. And actually, I mean, this is a spoiler for, you know, the last kind of question, but I think I'm going to continue doing it. The problem was that for me, I felt like I was having to come up with new stuff almost, which is fine and is really cool, but like it just didn't transfer the way I thought it was going to transfer, and it ended up being a lot more work to adapt than I thought it was going to be.
Well, and yours makes so much sense because you do have that part of the book where she talks about how her life has been adapted into a movie. So it makes sense for that movie to exist.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
right. Yeah, I thought I was genius, and then it turns out I'm not genius enough to actually do it.
So. That's Becca's job. Becca can adapt it.
Let's see. I do see Becca is saying that it would have been easier to just write one from scratch. Then you don't have to worry about keeping or deleting scenes that are already written. You have more freedom.
We made poor choices. It's fine.
Yeah. I see just below Becca, Legechi says, I wrote a screenplay called The Dangers of Drugs. Y'all, it was the funniest and dumbest script I've ever written. I think that sounds great.
I mean, you know, there are dangers to taking drugs, so got lots to write about there.
True, yeah. I do see Mackenzie saying that they might be taking a screenwriting course for school soon, which would be fun. Is that like a college or a university course, or like, yeah, let us know, because I think that would be, sometimes I wonder if like an in-class element could potentially help. I do see Tracy also says this will be the third script that I write. What are you writing your script on, Tracy? And what have you written your scripts on before?
Mike actually asked if either of us have tried writing a memoir. The look on your face.
Well, yeah, a memoir. What would I write a memoir about? You know, when I was on my road trip, I have written like different articles and essays while I was on it and after that surrounding the like solo travel sort of thing. I can't imagine attempting to write a memoir, but like I love travel memoirs, so I just feel like I don't have enough life experience for a memoir.
Yours would be way more interesting than mine, I think, because like I have written stuff down because I have been asked specifically by people that I know to write things out. But mine is more like the trials and tribulations of dating in rural small town America when you have a forward thinking mind and everyone around you is a redneck who are racist and sexist, and it's really hard out here, guys. Just
I mean, I would read that in a heartbeat.
So that's what my memoir, if you want to call it, that's what I have been working on for a long time. Like whenever like I just like go on a really bad date, like I come home and I write everything down and just like how horrible it was, and one day I will piece it all together. But I don't know if you want to call that a memoir because it's just like dating life experience.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time, guys.
Well, that's it. And everyone let us know if you would ever write a memoir, or what would your memoir be about? I guess would be a cool question. I see. Okay, so Dom Dynamite says, well, film and writing are very different mediums, so it can be hard to translate. A lesson we
learned that
over the month. Yeah. Oh, wow. Tracy says, I did a pilot and a biopic before. This one is a kid's movie about zombies.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. I'm ready for zombies to come back. I have never stopped loving zombies.
I have a zombie story idea, but I have it's not fleshed out, which is funny because it's zombies. Is it gonna be a comedy zombie? I don't know, but it might be after that.
I have a zombie story and that I've always wanted to write too, except that I know I could never actually do it because the ending, it would have to just be for me because the endings is always planned to be open-ended, which is like the worst for like life, death, zombie scenarios, and would be so mean for a reader, but I think it's hysterical, so I'll write it one day. It's like a throwaway.
As we're sitting here talking, I'm getting ideas for I am going to be going back to working on my blog on my website.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna start doing weekly posts. So like we're sitting here and people are talking and I'm like, I have an idea, I must write this down. So
yes.
So as I'm like, just get my planner out and randomly write stuff down so I don't forget.
That's perfect. I feel like talking about writing, and especially on these, even just our AuthorTube chats, but also live write-ins, talking with other writers, like gives me so many more ideas. Even if I've been sitting here thinking about something by myself all day, it's like the second I jump on a live chat, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do now. It's like magic.
It's like the second you start talking to other people who have like the same brain as you, that you're just like, oh, this and then this and then this and this and this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah. Oh, I do see. Okay, so Austin Land says, I'd love to write a memoir probably about being raised in a military town by a former soldier with PTSD. I have always been fascinated by military town-esque stuff. I'm curious what, okay, so I live near San Antonio, which is like military city kind of thing. So I would be curious, and my dad works at the VA, so everywhere that we lived as a kid was somewhere with like a huge military presence. So I would read that. I feel like I know a lot of people.
I would read that. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cousins who were all in the military. Look, I wasn't, obviously, because you look at this, the military did not accept this, but I have a lot of cousins that were in the military and some uncles, and so like we're a very military heavy family. So I mean, that would be something that I would read. I love to hear their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Even just the family members. And it's like the same story you've heard 300 times, but you just listen to it again because it's usually funny or something interesting happened, and it's a life experience that you'll never get.
That's exactly a life experience you'll never get. And that's why I like reading so much, because I feel like you get to see, and writing, I guess, because you get to see through so many different worlds and stuff that you can never actually experience.
We're getting lots of yes to zombies, FYI.
Heck yes. I did see someone also wants vampires to come back, and I've heard that they are. So
is it Renee Ollier that's doing?
I think it is. Yep.
Do I have to read it? Oh, that's one I'll borrow from the library. Okay, I'll try. Promise. Count honor.
Let's see.
I love that we both just like look away to try to like no one's looking at the camera. We're both
so the chat is over here, you guys.
Mind you, it's directly in front of me. Camera's over here, trying to read the comments. There are so many.
Oh my gosh. Okay, all of you San Antonio people, where are you? Hello. Hi. Let's see. Okay, well, I'm going to ask another question that I have on my list. So, Jessica, how far did you get in your script in the screenwriting experience?
Page 2.
Okay. Here's the thing I will say. I feel like okay, first off, I attempted to start writing the screenplay 5 separate times.
Oh, yes.
I think I got about a page each and had to scrap it when it's like I kept learning new information. So it took me a while to figure out how I wanted to adapt it. I felt like a lot of the stuff I had to do up front was research based because it's just so different from novel writing.
Yes. I attacked it as Becca is laughing at me. I attacked it as like I did a little bit of research and was like, okay, I'm going to attempt. And my attempt was miserable. So I, backed out of it. And then I did more research and I kind of came to the conclusion that much like writing, there are differences of opinions in the way that things are supposed to be done, even though formatting is basically the same. Mm-hmm. So the only reason that I made it to 2 pages was because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write it out, like what I want to happen. And I can go back and edit the formatting and things later. And because it's like a first draft, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time around. And I think it took me 3/4 of the month to realize that it didn't have to be perfect the first time around.
Yeah.
I struggled really hard with realizing that it was a first draft. Like my brain thought that like the second you put it on the page, it was concrete and it had to be that way forever. And I really struggled with that.
Isn't that interesting? And I feel similarly with, this is going to be another question, so I'm just going to mold them together. But I feel similarly when I think about like writing poetry. For some reason, I'm like, it should just innately be good, when I've written so many drafts of novels that I know that's not true. Like I literally call the first draft I write a 0 draft because it's so bad, but somehow that concept doesn't translate to poetry where I'm like, it should just flow out of me.
Yeah.
So wonderfully. And so I totally understand that.
Poetry should not be edited. It should just exist as it is when it first comes out.
That's what I feel.
It is. However it comes out, that's how it stays forever. There's no editing in poetry. It's poetry. That's crazy. I feel that way. I very rarely would like when I write, like I sit and I like if I'm writing poetry, which this is not the conversation we're having, but like I would like say it out loud several times or like think about it in my head and be like, okay, that line works, and write the line, and then take like another 20 minutes and think of the next line. I don't write it down because once it's down there, it's concrete. You can't change it because it's poetry. I don't know why that is, but it is. It's just how it is.
Yeah, well, so that's actually my question, because I know that you write poetry, or you have in the past, and so I was going to ask, how do you think that script writing compares to novel writing, poems, or like writing for a song?
As of this point, I think that script writing is the most difficult, but it is because it is the one that I'm most ignorant about. Mm-hmm. I know less about it and I've been doing it less, but I think poetry and songwriting is shorter, which on one hand makes it easier, but also makes it harder because you have to convey the same amount of emotions and feelings and everything that you're trying to say in one teeny tiny paragraph versus 90 pages. Mm-hmm. So But also, if it sucks, it was a paragraph, not 90 pages.
It's a good point.
You're only scrapping 1 page versus 90. So is it better? Is it worse? I don't know.
Right, the investment's lower. That's a good point. Well, I'm going to kind of turn this question over to the comments too. Let us know what you guys think. What's the difference between these different kind of mediums that are all still writing based? And how many of them do you do? Like, do you dabble in all of these? Have you written a script and a novel and a poem and whatever else? I'm very curious. Also, I see Samantha asks if there will be sprints or if this is just a chat. This one's just a chat.
I just answered it in the comments too.
Oh, you
were talking, so I was like trying to be helpful.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I see Me Too years ago says, I have a 70-page composition book where half of the pages are drafts of the same poem.
I can't live my life like that. I can't. How do you do that? How do you change poetry? Like, it just has to exist as it exists. I don't understand. I don't think it's supposed to be that way. And I think that people who edit their poetry are correct, but my brain does not allow it.
Right. Yeah.
It's not allowed.
Well, and I'm just perusing through the comments here. I do see Cheryl says, I think doing a screenplay before writing my novel might help me with the visual. Thanks to whoever said that. And I do think that's another thing between novel writing and screenwriting, is that for as bare bones as my initial draft is, my zero draft, for a lot of intents and purposes, it might as well be, I'm going to say, more script than screenplay, because I don't include a lot of the description. A lot of it for me is like working my way through plot points and making sure I hit the dialogue, which is my way of getting to know the characters. So it really feels like it transforms, but even then, that's still not quite a screenplay. But maybe I should try that too. Maybe I should try doing a screenplay before writing my novel.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like, when I do zero drafts, because I have stolen the term from you, because that's how I roll. It is the same thing. It's basically like key plot points. If there's like a quote or something that I think of that I really like, I'll write it down. But like things people say to one another, things that are happening in the plot, scene changes, things like that, there's not a lot of description. So it is kind of like a screenplay. Why didn't we have this conversation before?
We should have thought about it.
We're doing this backwards. It's messed the whole thing up.
Oh, okay. So I see Jillian Hotterfield says, I did a lot of role plays, meaning like I write a few paragraphs as one character and a group of someone's write as a different character. The thing with that is that I cannot control the plot. That's fascinating.
And horrifying.
But I did have, so when I was part of a writing group at university, I know some of them did have their own section that like did role playing stuff, and like they created characters for the role play. And I think it does help in some respects. And again, it's a different form of writing. It's more collaborative, I guess. And I just think that's also fascinating. I see Whitney says, I'd like to get back into screenwriting. I started working on story Bibles and treatments for some TV shows as well. I still don't totally understand the story Bible thing, other than it's just putting all of the stuff from your story into like one spot. Is that it?
Yeah. Story Bible, and they're different. People have different kinds, but essentially, yeah, it is. It's like, your giant binder where you keep all of your information and everything, whether it's physical or digital, where you keep everything. Mackenzie says, I've written poems, not good ones, and novels and started screenplays. They're all fun and challenging. If you think your poems are bad, check out my video where I did poems. I read a bunch of my poems from high school. It was a really fun time where the whole world gets to laugh at me. I highly recommend.
That will be another one I'll have to do eventually as a poetry experiment, but Let's see. I do see Chelsea says, I write scenes in screenplay form if I'm coming up with the dialogue too fast to write out normally. Okay, this was my problem when I was trying to write like Neil Gaiman for a day, and his first draft process is writing out like by hand stuff. And I know, Jessica, you were saying that I should like, that's what margins are for, but it's one of those where it's like I was thinking of the dialogue so quick that it was like there was no way I could like write it out by hand at the speed at which I was thinking it.
And I'm the opposite because I handwrite faster than I type.
Okay.
Which is why all of my zero drafts are handwritten.
Okay.
Because it's like the easy, like just super quick. And I have gained my own shorthand.
Mm-hmm.
So like because we had a teacher in high school that liked teeny tiny little notes. So like I have my own shorthand and so I just write everything out. And sometimes you're right, you can't read your own handwriting, but usually I can figure it out.
Yeah, you have a guide.
Like, let's see. I think with those 2 words on that side and those 2 words on that side, that word is probably jump. Okay.
Got it.
And you go from there. But yes, definitely. I think that having that speed sometimes is key.
Yes. I do see AJ says, honestly, as a theater kid, I want to write a musical, but the issue with that is that I can't compose, and I don't know anyone who can, as far as I'm aware. So composing is also just something that I find so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so I did percussion. So other than like playing the xylophone, I didn't really have to learn where certain notes were at because percussion is written differently.
Right.
It's like I couldn't even read music to compose if I wanted to.
I could do it, but and I've done it, but music is like writing. It's subjective. Was it any good? I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I'm not Beyonce. It wasn't that great. Okay. Like, I don't know.
Well, and that is an interesting, when I think of novel writing versus composing of music, even composing of like that you would need for a musical, those things seem like such opposites to me, when really it's still creating something in order to tell a story.
Yes.
And it's so cool.
Sarah Parker Ford says, I used to only like novels as a kid, but now I love the challenge of short stories and poems for being concise. I'll try writing any format, though. We highly recommend writing in different formats, which is why we do it. And short stories, for me, again, are more difficult than a full novel because it takes you less time to write it, but you have to get all the same points across in less words.
Well, and so I think I was on Kevlandia's live stream, or maybe I was on Laura's live stream that Kevin was on, but I was talking about I'm writing some romance short stories. And now the thing about short stories, like the definition of a short story is difficult because you have like short stories, novellas, novels, and like I've tried writing short stories that are like 3,000 words or less, and it's a much different skill set than what I'm doing currently, which is something that's like 20,000 words. And then that in itself is also different than like a 70,000 word fantasy. So, yeah. I see someone else says short stories are hard. I guess I think it depends sometimes on what kind of short story you're writing.
I don't have the problem where my mind wants to elaborate and 2 pages turn into 5. I have like grand ideas, and then like by the time I get all the words on the page, it's like half a page. I'm like, that should have been a whole chapter. How is it 6 lines? I don't understand. Yeah. Maybe I should just stick to short stories. I don't know.
That's perfect.
Maybe
No, I have the same thing. I think that's why all of my zero drafts and first drafts and everything start out at much lower word counts. So I know some people have the problem where they're like, I have to cut all this stuff to get it within like a certain standard. And I'm like, no, I need to add words in. So
there are people that have like they go to submit to agents and they'll have a book that's like 150,000 words. And I'm like, how did you even get there? Like,
Yeah, no, that boggles my mind. I think the highest word count thing I've ever written was like 80,000 words. Like, that's just.
When I first wrote my first draft of Warriors, which it's in a box next to me, it was 98,000 words.
Mm.
And it currently sits at about 72,000.
Okay.
But it's like getting a whole rewrite. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to be, but I mean, 98,000 words is insane for me.
Yeah. Well, and it does depend what genre you're writing, because I know some people in this chat might be writing like epic fantasies, and that's obviously going to go by different rules. But even then, I remember I was beta reading for someone when I was in university, and this person had written like a 200,000 word epic fantasy, and I was like, even this, like, this would be insane for even like well-known epic fantasy authors. Like, that's just not going to work.
They say that you should keep your debut epic under 100.
Yeah.
Because that's what Warriors is. It's a epic high fantasy, however you want to say it. So, I mean, yeah, it should be under 100,000 words. Mine needs more words, but it should be high. I mean, like most fantasies are typically more than contemporaries, but high fantasy, you're allowed a little more leeway because you're world building. So
yeah, which, to bring it back around to screenwriting, was something that I found so different, that like screenwriting, you're basically supposed to stay within a certain number of pages. Like, all scripts and screenplays are supposed to stay within these certain number of pages. You're supposed to hit certain beats at a certain page point. That was the other thing that I think it tripped me up when it shouldn't have, because again, I should have thought of this more as a first draft, but I was like trying to hit things at a certain time, and I just don't have the knowledge yet or the skill set to actually do that. So like, I think I got the equivalent in my novel is like a fourth of the way through. And I just threw away the rules about hitting a certain page point. I was like, I'm just gonna try this and then I can fix it later.
So what you're telling me is that you made it more than 2 pages.
I made it more than 2 pages.
All right. Way to go.
Pulling you up.
Whew. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. You set the bar very high.
So. Right. It was real high. It was so hard.
It was really hard.
I think, and this month for me has been so busy, and I've had so little writing time anyway. And it's just, sitting down to learn something new is not something that you should do when you're this busy. But I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, that's another good point, is that also, I know you and I both had multiple other projects we were working on, and we've both said how hard it is to work yourself up to do this hard screenplay experiment or any kind of hard writing thing, when I'm like, I have other stuff I could be working on and progressing on that feels so much easier than this one. And that's just, new skills are hard to learn, like you said, but yeah, it was rough.
Emily's asking your question. She says, will you guys continue to write screenplays after this experiment?
You beat me to it, Emily. You want to take this one, Jessica? I'll let you go first.
I think I had this conclusion that I need to do more research, but I feel like I would probably do better with something that was like TV serial versus movie.
Okay.
And that I would adapt from an original concept versus trying to adapt.
Okay.
Like, to have a new thought and work from there. Because as I said, trying to take words that I love and slashing them into something else makes me unhappy. And so I struggled with that real hard.
Right. So you're not saying no to screenwriting. You're saying no to the way you did it, and you now know better how you would do it in the future.
Yes. I learned the things you should not do.
Which is important lessons to learn.
Right. I mean, you have to learn what not to do, otherwise you won't know what to do. So
yeah,
it could have been worse.
This is good. Well, and also I feel like by our powers combined, I'm learning through you as well. So
Don't do what I do. It's a good plan. I'm trying to read the comments, but they're so quick today, as usual.
They're moving very fast.
Danielle asks, can a fantasy story with fairies and magic work as a short story? I would say with fairies and magic as a short story, absolutely, because fairies are something that most people have a base knowledge of. So you don't have to start from scratch with your information. Most people have a base knowledge of fairies and magic, and they have the ability to see that outside of where they're at. So I think that would be definitely doable.
I think that's a great point about short stories. All of the short stories that I've read, even if it's like a fantasy type or it's like a magical world, the amount of like world building is completely cut down. So it's often something we've seen before, we know, we have preconceived ideas of. I also tend to find that rather than like reading very, I'm not going to say like purple prose, and I'm not going to say like lyrical, because I think short stories can be lyrical, but like I think the word choice is more specific in short stories since you tend to have less amount of words to use from. And I think fantasy, I think it actually can make a really great short story for those reasons too. I see Austin Land says, to write a screenplay for me, I've written summaries for beats and scenes and then cut down from that. That way I have all the context and then I can fabricate the unseen tension.
Where were you at a month ago?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, I wish I would have.
That makes way more sense. It's one of those things where it's like, you're like, sure, I can do some research and try to do it. And I will never say that I ever thought it's not going to be hard. I should be able to do this, never had that thought cross my mind, but I thought that I would do better than I did.
That is the perfect summary for how I felt too. I knew it was going to be difficult because, again, a new skill, but like I didn't think it was going to be as difficult as I found it. Like I had a big old wake up call. So
yeah, I thought that it would have been something that would be somewhat in my skill set. It is not within my skill set, at least not in the way that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to try it a different way. And I might try handwriting it next time too.
That would be fascinating. Because
I do typically do zero drafts handwriting, that would make more sense. So I may try handwriting next time when I do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to do shorter versus whole movie. Maybe like a children's short, like a little kid's like half-hour movie.
Oh, okay. I was like before the Disney like short that they put.
One of those. There you go. Let's start with that.
Like a 3-minute something.
A 3-minute screenplay. That's actually a great idea. I should start there. Oh wait, I already did. It was 2 pages long. There's 3 minutes.
There you go. So you didn't fail.
Story's over.
Well, and then so I think the other question I had that we actually haven't gotten to yet was, what resources did you use when you were researching?
Was I supposed to save those?
If you didn't, it's totally fine. It's just, I thought up these questions, so I was like, oh, I have a list of 4 things.
Well, I mean, I watched a lot of YouTube videos.
Mm.
We discussed, we both watched Becca's video, and I've watched many of them where she talks about script writing. And then YouTube suggested the Vanity Fair one.
Yes.
That you watched also. And then, because it suggested the same video for both of us. And then I just kind of went in a downward spiral from there. Of just watching YouTube videos on how-tos and watching other people do it and try to figure it out. And YouTube is my go-to for how to do things. So
no, me too. I think YouTube is such a great resource. And I was going to say, so Becca's videos, that Vanity Fair video was so cool to see her do it on the screen, and it was helpful. I have a book here that I actually didn't get as far through as I thought I was going to. And And then I know there's a YouTube channel, Lessons from the Screenplay, which I watched a couple videos of, but I've heard people like say is amazing. And then I recently, I don't know what video I mentioned it in. Oh, my recent writing revelations. But I recently found out about table reads and like watched some of those also on YouTube, of like the actor sitting in there and then like a director or producer or someone else reads the like action bits. That was so helpful for me to hear and watch these people that I've seen on screen before, like do it in a way that wasn't actually the format I've watched it in, like on the screen. It was just a fascinating experience for me and put some extra context in. So I definitely recommend looking up table reads.
You talked about table reads in your video, your part one, I think it was.
Mm.
And I didn't look any up, but I made a note to. Like at that point, I had kind of come to the conclusion that it wasn't working. So I was like, I'm not going to salvage this by the end of the month. Like it's just not going to happen. With everything that I had going on this week, I knew that it was just not going to be salvageable. But I also did, as Becca suggested in her video, about how to look up, I can speak English. I'm trying to read comments and talk at the same time.
Yeah.
About looking up scripts from your favorite movies. And I did some of that too. I looked at scripts from some of my favorite movies and like looked at those and watched, and okay, wow. There's someone you need to block in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing that people say that, but theirs aren't popping up for me. So I've been like waiting.
Top chat or live chat?
I'm on top chat. Oh.
That's fine.
Oh my God. Okay.
Right?
How do I
don't know. But okay. I'm going to report it, but
did that work?
Yeah, they went away.
Okay. Oh my God. Report.
Right. Okay. I didn't.
So surprised. I know. Sorry, guys.
So I thought that I changed over to live chat in the beginning, and I apparently did not. So thank for whoever pointed that out. Christina, thank you for pointing that out, because neither one of us could see it. So yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh. I do see that other people are saying Story by Robert McKee is a really good book on screenwriting, which I've seen recommended before. I saw Anatomy of Story, and I know some people are saying Save the Cat. And I need to have like someone tell me some honest opinions on Save the Cat so that I know if it's worthwhile or not.
Do you have either one?
You know, I recently went and bought, I think, was it Anatomy of Story? I just got it. I just got Anatomy of Story from Barnes & Noble. I've not read it yet.
I was talking about either Save the Cat. Because I have the novelist version. I don't have the original like screenplay version. I haven't opened it. It's been sitting there for like a year. It's fine. But I did buy it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about it yet because I haven't opened the book yet.
Okay.
But when I do, I will let you know.
Please do. I've seen people like hype up the beat sheet part of it, but I haven't seen anyone really say the best things about the rest of the book. And that might have just been the screenplay version and not the novel version. So I'm not totally sure.
That would make sense because the beat part of the screenplay is what most people were using while they were writing novels, and that was, I think, why she made the novelist version.
Got it.
I believe that's the case. But yeah. I am writing all of these down, people, just so you know.
I see someone says, Whitney says for TV, there's a book called Inside the Room, which I enjoyed. Also crafty TV writing. What is? Oh, Trelby. Have I heard of that before? I'm looking this up.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what anything is.
So it's a screenwriting program. I'm trying to remember if that's what Becca said she used too.
I know Becca said she uses Final Draft.
Okay.
But other than that, I do not know.
Well, so I think I'm going to continue on writing this at some point. I don't, for me, my screenplay version of Project Purple, but I think I've been talking recently about how I'm attempting to finish up the rewrite on this, or the revision of it, like within the next week or so, hopefully. I was hoping it would be done by tomorrow, but that's not going to happen.
Tomorrow's already almost here.
I know, exactly. It's too soon. So, and then Camp NaNoWriMo's coming up, and so I don't want the screenplay or screenwriting to like fall by the wayside, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So I have no like definitive plans to stop, and I would like to continue, and I feel like this would be something that I'd really like once I feel more comfortable. But of course, like any other kind of writing, the only way to feel comfortable is to continue doing it. So I feel like I'm at like a
you want to work on this right here. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness, that's so many pages.
Why I only print on one side? Because
Well, that makes more sense.
Well, I'm revising, as I call it, because it's all getting all over the place. Sometimes I end up writing on the back of the page, so it's good to have that extra space.
That is true, and I do try and whenever I print mine out, I do try and leave a little bit of room. So like in this one, I don't know if y'all can see, it's like 1.5 space. So there's enough room for me and my little handwriting if I want to do it to like add notes.
Oh, mine has like nothing on each page, like it's barely anything.
Oh wow.
Like all the space.
All the space. Sometimes that's what we need.
But look at it. I use all the space.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it works for you. That's
I needed it.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna end up throwing a binder clip across the room again as I try to put it on here. I threw a binder clip across the room during the live sprints the other night and about scared the heck out of somebody. So, hey, it was fun times. Sometimes you just hit those things and they go flying. People are talking about camp.
Yes. Well, so that's going to be, I already know this answer, but what are you working on for camp?
What am I working on for camp?
Yes.
For camp, I am doing another experiment because I'm trying to do monthly experiments.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be writing like I wrote fan fiction in high school, which was basically you write a chapter, you edit it a little bit, and you publish it. Like,
yeah.
I have my chapter, it's crap. And you have no idea what's coming in the next chapter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that, and I am going to be writing my witch boarding school, which is basically about a witch in a boarding school.
Heck. Yeah.
Super simple. The world is basically like a parallel universe of our world where all of the magic exists, like whether it's Harry Potter magic or Lord of the Rings magic or whatever other kind of magic. We've basically wished for everything so hard that it has come into existence, so it all exists.
Ooh, I like it. Well, here's the follow-up question to the writing like fan fiction. Are you going to publish it weekly in a place that we can find?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm going to write it like it's fan fiction.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to hide it away forever, much like all of the fan fiction.
Okay. No, that's not what we want, but okay.
Listen, and this is the thing that we discussed and why I kind of decided to go this route is because I struggle so hard to get during Nano, like to 50,000 words. And
Mhm.
I looked, when I was deleting all of my fan fiction off of all of the websites that I could remember my passwords to, it, 5 or 6 years ago, whenever I was like going through everything, there is a story that I wrote that was a fan fiction that I wrote in 2 months, and it had 170,000 words.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's that girl? Where's she at?
Yeah, come back.
Come back. I need her. So, I decided that I'm going to try it and see what happens and not know what's going to happen in the plot. I kind of know like the first few chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of all I ever knew going into fan fiction. Like, I knew like who the characters were, what the world setup was, and what I wanted to happen in the few chapters, and maybe like a chapter or two down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. So, what are you working on for camp?
Well, I have a follow-up question for you.
Oh, okay.
Are you gonna do it based off of words? Like, what's your goal that you're gonna put in the camp website?
I haven't decided yet, but I am gonna do words this time because I did hours last time. I'm definitely gonna do words this time, which I think will make the writing better, more interesting. Because it was hard to judge how I was doing with everyone else based off of, because we were doing different things. Like, you guys were all writing and I was revising, and it was just weird.
Yeah.
So it'll be a better. I'm going to write words, and I'm probably going to do like 25,000, which is a lot for me.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yes, that's like a reach kind of goal.
Yeah, and I think that when I do 50, I know like going in that I'm not going to hit it, so I don't even really try. Mm-hmm. Whereas like 25, I think I could hit that, so I'm going to try.
Heck yes. We'll see. And so I'm going to be the opposite of you. And I know, because someone asked me that in the chat. I'm sorry, I can't.
It's been so long ago.
But I'm going to do hours this time because I have never done that before, and it'll be a challenge for me. And also because I think I'm going to be working on a sequel, which I've also never done before. So it's going to be a whole different experience for me, a whole different kind of camp.
Austin Land wants to know what our best camp pitch is, because they thought about participating in Camp Nano once, but haven't.
Oh my gosh. This was a sigh because there's so many things I could say, not because I'm like, don't do camp. You should definitely do camp. Camp's great because you can set your own goal. I feel like there's a camaraderie, just like with like normal Nano time, but because you can set your own goal based off of words, hours, minutes, whatever you want, pages, I think too, like it's much more freeing. You feel like you get to be a part of something without it being like a specific time, a specific goal that you don't want to do. And especially on YouTube, I feel like since more and more people are doing Camp Nano,
I think, I lost it. Where'd it go? Someone said, oh, good Lord. I done lost it.
I don't know, but I do see
someone recommended
school. What?
Someone recommended that you go based off of minutes versus hours because of the way that it logs hours. And that is true, because when I would do a half hour, I couldn't log a half hour.
Okay, I will do minutes then.
Do minutes instead of hours. And I'm like, I know someone just said it, but I can't find it in the comments, but it's there. Sarah Parker Ford, I found it. I'm like, I can't find it, I found it.
Yes, okay, I will do it in minutes. That's a good idea.
Because you can't do like half hours. So like there would be days where I would just like write it on my notes that I wrote for an hour and a half, and then like the next time that I wrote another half hour, I would add it in. Mm-hmm. So minutes, definitely. And had I known that originally, I would have.
You would have chosen it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that till I did it. Nebula says cabins. Cabins are what they love about camp. And I agree with that, because we had a very small cabin last time, mostly because we kind of forgot that we were supposed to add more people in.
Oops.
And we had a very small cabin. It went really well. We were all very productive. We did a lot of fun things, and we learned a lot from each other, I think, in the chat of the cabin, to the point that we started a group chat on Google Hangouts where we do kind of bounce ideas off of one another on a pretty much daily basis.
Yeah.
So you can get into a cabin with people that you really connect with, and you can keep those people as friends and as people that you can help make things make more sense for you. So when you have questions, you can ask someone that kind of already knows enough about you that they can give you an answer.
Yeah. And I do think that cabins for some people can be hit or miss. And I've definitely had years, or I mean like months in April or July, where it was a miss cabin for me, where it's like it was very inactive. And even if I tried to pose questions, there wasn't really a whole lot back. And that's why I still think that like the YouTube community, like on Twitter, on Instagram, like there's tons of people that are still participating in Camp NaNoWriMo that I think adds like an extra level to the writing community. But if you can get an active cabin and like definitely try to make it active yourself, man, it's just the best. Like I feel like I've made stronger friendships from the people that I got to be in the cabin with this last month. So
I definitely think that the answer is to look either on YouTube or on Twitter or Facebook if you use Facebook for different writing things, wherever, Instagram, wherever it is that you follow a lot of writers. And if look into like the hashtags of Camp Nano and find people that are looking for people that want to join their cabin versus just allowing the site to sort you into a cabin, because that is a huge crapshoot and you don't know who you're going to get, and you will sometimes get a bad cabin. But if you know at least one other person in the cabin, you're probably going to get a good cabin.
Yeah, agreed. And also, I mean, you can make your own cabin. That's what I do. I make my cabin and then I invite, some other people that I know or want to get to know or whatever. And I think that's another great way. So if even just one extra person, invite them to the cabin. And then, I think that's a great way to do it.
And you can open your cabin up to, once you have all the people in your cabin, like say, is it 25 now?
I think they let you have 18 or 19.
I can't remember what the number is, but say like it's you and a friend and you have a couple of other friends, there's 5 of you. You can, once you know that those 5 are the only 5 you're going to have, you can open your cabin up to like the randomization where it will throw people in your cabin. And those people may or may not be active, but if you know that you're going to have a few active people in there, you can do that. Or you can just keep it to 6 and then your group average is really high.
Yes, that's true too.
A very successful cabin this time around.
Yes. And I do see someone asking if there are AuthorTube cabins. I think there were like 3 or 4 this last time.
Yeah.
So just message some other people who you see in comments and videos. And I know, there's other people. I know Kevin had his own cabin. So yeah, there's definitely, if you want to find other AuthorTubers or other people who like watch YouTube videos on writing, you can do it.
I don't know if Jesse and Evie had one this time, but they usually do have their own AuthorTube cabin as well. Jesse Elliott and Evie Driver usually have their own AuthorTube cabin as well. So, yeah. You can, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, and then the last thing on cabins, I think they also have a section where you can be randomly assorted into one that everyone is writing the same genre as you. I haven't tried that before, but I think it sounds really cool. So if you don't want to just go straight up random, that might be something. Then y'all can all talk fantasy or all talk romance or whatever.
You don't want to be sorted into a random group of people all writing horror thrillers and you're like, I'm writing a book about cotton candy.
I know. This is the thing about the writing community. So I love the writing community in general, but I do find that like depending on certain genres you write, some other genre writers kind of look down on you. And vice versa, and like the like literary writers versus genre writers. And I think there's like a lot more, I don't know that it's as antagonistic as people make it out to be, but I've definitely been around people who like would not want to talk about my story if I was writing a romance story. So it's good that they've added an option.
I will say this, and I will make this make sense, but as someone who works in the service industry, I work for a service company where we go into people's homes and we do work inside their homes. You will get phone calls about people that are upset, people that are angry, where someone didn't do a good job. you don't get very many calls where things are going right. And I think that translates to whether it's the different genres looking down on one another, the different forms of publishing looking down on one another. You can apply it to all points of life, but there's always going to be that handful of people that are very outspoken and very elitists.
Yes.
While the other 95% of that group, everything's fine for them, they don't care, so you don't hear anything about it. And I think that's important to remember, is that you're only going to hear the negative, because that's our society, that's the way that we operate, and that is what we put the stress on, is the negative.
Right.
We stress on the positive. So if you're afraid of someone because they're in a different genre than you, or you've heard negative things about your own genre from other people, you're only hearing the bad part, not the positive part. So don't stress about that at all.
Yeah, it's the whoever's shouting loudest kind of thing.
Yes.
I agree.
You're going to be working on the second book in your pirate series after you finish the murdering maps.
That's right. Yeah, the murdering maps. Oh my gosh, that's what I've just been adding a murder to like any title, and I'm like, it makes it funnier to me. So
just put murder on the end of everything. It's great.
So at this point, I think we're just talking about random stuff, and like Jessica and I can talk for hours. So let us know what you want to talk about. I do see some people saying that like they want to start an AuthorTube channel, but they're scared to be in front of the camera, which I totally understand. And I watched BookTube for years before I ever made a channel because I was too scared. And like, I know it's kind of like screenwriting, to bring it back around. It gets easier the more you do it and the more comfortable you are. I do think even when I'm by myself, when I'm doing live write-ins, I still get really uncomfortable with things. So, it's a slow progression for everything, AuthorTube included, but I totally recommend it.
Do it. I think I started my channel as a BookTube channel before I knew that AuthorTube was a thing, which technically I should be considered a writer tube because I'm not published. Therefore, I'm not an author. I'm a writer. It's different, but that's a whole other story for a different day.
We didn't get to name it.
Right. We didn't name it. It's just the community that we're in.
Yes.
So I started my BookTube channel probably a month in. Like, I didn't even know it existed. I was randomly looking for information about a book that I had read and found a video review about it on YouTube. And at that point, I'm old, guys. I'm like almost 32. So like YouTube was not a thing when I was a teenager. Like, it didn't exist. So it wasn't something that my brain told me to go to. So when I found that, I like put me into this loop of BookTube, and then I like a month in, I was like, I'm making a BookTube channel. I'm gonna have a channel, and I did it. And I have so much anxiety and depression, and just I freak out about everything. And for me, it's easier to talk to people on the screen than it is in person because there's a screen between us. And also, with the exception of the lives, because whatever I say is whatever I say, but you have the ability to edit yourself.
Yeah.
Be as crazy as you want to be, and then you can edit yourself into something normal, and then that's what you portray to the world. So don't be afraid of what other people might think of you, or that you're not going to do well. And success on YouTube says nothing about how good you are or are not, because there are channels that are super popular that are literally just kids opening toys.
That's very true.
And then there are people that are like curing cancer and they've got 3 views.
Right.
So it's subjective, like everything else in art.
Yeah.
YouTube is subjective.
Yes. And I think, honestly, if you go into it just thinking about how cool it would be to document your process, then like you're winning. I love going back and looking at, since I'm going to be doing, a sequel to the Meridian Maps, I love going back and looking at the videos where I talked a year and a half ago about struggling through the timeline of this first book. Like, it's just cool to see the progress. And I think sometimes like I'll journal a little bit, but I find that harder to like read through and find than just clicking on this video that I made specifically about this story topic. Like, I think it's great.
I think it's really good for chronicling things, and I do look back on stuff, and I don't do it often, but I do look back at other videos that I've done and try to see what I was doing at the time, whether I was being productive or successful, whatever, however you want to say it. So I think it is kind of an interesting way to look back. It's kind of like a journal, but in a video form. So, definitely look up the AuthorTube newbie tag. It was originally created by Jenna the Dark One. She is Jenna Streety now. Highly recommend. And if you are new and you're looking for more AuthorTubers to follow, if you look up that in your search, you'll find people doing their AuthorTube newbie tag. And I think it's a good tag because it kind of gives you an idea of what who the person is, what kind of things they write, and if you're gonna mesh or not. So
yeah, I still think it's so helpful, and I still search it occasionally, like maybe once a month or something, and just kind of go through it and see if someone's writing something similar to me, or like they have the same process I do, or like they introduced me to a new process. Yeah, I think it's great.
Tracy Ann Can says, I've tried doing live streams and it was so lonely, no one showed up. I do monthly write-ins on my channel, and I usually do them by myself. Every once in a while I'll have somebody with me, but I usually do them by myself. And it is the strangest thing ever because I usually have like 10 or 11 people, and it's just, you don't like, who are you talking to? Like, you're talking to the delay in the conversation because it's pretty much there. There's so much lag, and you're just like, you ask a question, then you stare at the screen and wait for someone to answer. Oh wait, they answered. And it is so weird. So I definitely understand, but you just have to keep doing it, and you get more comfortable, and you'll get more viewers. And I mean, maybe, I don't know. You may not get more viewers. It's the algorithm, man. The algorithm is crazy, and sometimes it gets drunk and weird things happen.
Yes, that's the other very true thing. So as long as you're doing it for yourself, I feel like, or to connect with other writers, if the algorithm chooses you, you know, then all the better. But if not, you're still making friends. I am so excited for all the writer friends I've made from AuthorTube. Like, that's the best thing I can take away from it.
Yeah, I think that our community definitely has its issues, as all communities do. But again, it's 95% good, 5% not so great, but 95% good. And I think that's the thing that you have to kind of pay more attention to.
Yeah. I'm laughing at Cheryl's comment. Yeah, well, much like we saw, I don't know how people come up with these random live streams that they follow. I remember one time we were on Jessica's channel, and these people started like spamming us with like a book that was coming out that day or something. What, do you remember that? It was so weird. Like, I don't know how they find these live streams.
I don't know how they do either. I have been on a live stream, like not one on my channel, but like one that I was watching on someone else's channel. And like these weirdo German guys just showed up and like were like talking in the comment section about how attractive the girls were, and like in German. It was so, I'm like, why are you here? Yeah. I don't. Phoebe says the algorithm chooses the AuthorTuber, Harry. You're not wrong.
Yes.
I can definitely say, I mean, as someone who has been steadily growing, like, I think my first 2 years on AuthorTube, I was at like 300 subscribers. In the last 2 months, I've gained like 200. Like, it just randomly in one weekend, I gained 90 followers. I don't know how it happened. I don't know why. I don't know what the algorithm was doing, but it was working for me that day and not against me. And that's kind of the deal. It's just the algorithm does what it wants, and it doesn't care.
It does not. Well, and that's the other part of it. And I think this is probably true for life, but once you get a little bit of success, it's easier to get the next bit. So just like, so it's like everyone says your first 100 subscribers are like the hardest to get. And then like, if you can get up to that 1,000 mark, then like the next however many are that much easier just because of the algorithm. I think the same's true for like, I think the same's true for a lot of things.
Well, the more likes and the more minutes you get watching, the more likely the algorithm is to suggest you to other people who are watching the types of videos that you have. So, I mean, it makes sense, but also at the same time, 90 subscribers over a weekend for absolutely no reason. I'm not complaining about it, but I don't know why it happened. Like, I didn't even post a video that weekend.
Oh my God.
I have no clue what happened.
Would you, I was like, I so want to look at your analytics and see if I can like pinpoint where this is. For those of y'all who know me, I love stats. I like looking at the analytics and seeing if I can figure out why. So
I think it was the weekend that we did a group chat. Like, I don't know if it was, or a group write-in. I don't know if it was like your channel or Phoebe's channel or Emily's channel or Becca's channel. I don't know whose channel it was on, but I think it was like we did that, and then like the next 3 days was just like exponential growth. But like I mean, I'm on your channel all the time. I never have like kind of growth after. I mean, I always have some growth because you have a much larger base than I do, but like never that excessive. I was like,
what's happening?
What's happening? This is awesome. I have friends. I feel that way like every time like I get an email that's like, you have a new subscriber. I'm like, yay, new friends. I get so excited. I have friends. Please talk to me in my comments. I like friends.
Yes. Oh, wow. Bentley says sometimes things are posted on Pinterest and it will randomly boost subs. It's like a ghost boost. That's what I've seen happen for me at least. What? That's fascinating.
I love it. Those of you who are asking in the, oh, nope, someone else answered it. Just kidding. I was gonna say there's a way to follow people. It's there 3 little dots over on the right-hand side. Go to channel, click that. It will go there. I always right-click that and go to open in a new tab just in case so it doesn't take me away, but I don't know. You know what, Sarah? It might have been the chat where I said that if I got to 10,000, I would sing a song. You could be right. It may have been the world trying to make me sing live on the internet. So I don't know. You may
I want it to happen.
Everyone wants it to happen, but you have to get me to 10,000 subscribers. So you got a long ways to go. Only 9,500 to go, Kate.
Again, it gets easier.
On
the way up.
You know, Grape Fry, how did we meet? We met in the comment section of Kate's videos because I found her nano videos, which is I think how Kate finds everyone.
Yeah. I'm just casually obsessed, you guys. It's fine. Yeah, I do think was that, and I think that was actually like the first time I did those daily vlogs.
We did the daily vlogs the first time when you first got back into AUTHORTUBE consistently. Yeah.
Yep, I think that's right.
And I don't, it's really weird. Like at the time we were a lot closer in subscriber range. And I think like, cause people have asked like, how do you make friends with someone who has like such a higher subscriber count than you? And I think the thing is just sometimes you just find people that you click with. And like Becca and I, you know, have such a low subscriber count versus yours, but you are one of the higher ones in the AUTHORTUBE community. So, hey, woo! But I mean, you do so much stuff that like you should be. So, but
well, I mean, now.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to, you find people that you click with and you find people that you have similar things that you can talk about and someone that you can bounce ideas off of and actually get a response back that makes sense to you. So,
yeah. Well, that's like, I think you and Becca and like several other people, I think we were all at the same place when we were chatting. And like, I think that's the other thing about when you're like a smaller channel, you see every comment. I replied to every comment for so long, and comments are still my favorite, but like I can't do that anymore. which is such a bummer for me because it's my favorite part. But I feel like I've gotten to know people through comments back and forth in either my videos or other people's videos, and still now, like, I know Ginger Reads Laney recommended Kevin at Kevlandia. And I watch every one of his videos and comment on every one of his videos, and I feel like I'm kind of getting to know him too. And so, like, I think that's just how you make friends. You just comment on each other's videos. Just meet people that way.
Well, and you talked about Kevin in your videos, and that was what made me start watching Kevin's channel, and then Kevin and Laura. And so it's like you just kind of like your friend group just grows, it blossoms.
It blossoms.
And you just like you find your weirdos. That's how it is. You find your group of weirdos and you stick to it.
That is, well, and that's what I found so interesting recently, despite all of the like conversations that have been happening. I have realized that AuthorTube is much bigger than I thought, because I felt like, you know, I knew like my little group of friends, and then I knew like some other groups of friends, and then it turns out there's like even more groups of people. And
I thought there were like 20 of us, and there's like 2,000.
I don't know, it's so huge in comparison. I do see people are talking about ages, and I do see someone asking. I'm 26 right now. I got a few more months and then I'll be 27.
Super Villanova says, I'll be 33 on June 5th. I'll be 32 on June 8th. So I feel you.
Look at y'all. Let's see. I do see someone saying I'm a baby compared to all of you. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I actually think because the community is bigger than I thought, I'm seeing more diversity amongst the ages, but there is a concentration kind of that skews younger. But YouTube in general, I find skews younger.
Someone in the last, someone in the last chat, no. Someone that we used to have in a lot of the live streams is like 13. We have a couple of people that we get on the live write-ins a lot that are like 13, 14. So we do have some younger viewers. But I don't, there's another one I think you need to block that I'm very confused by.
I'm on the live chat and I don't see it.
It's Simon Gridoff.
Okay.
They are discussing things that you should not do to yourself. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay.
My ancient soul weeps, and it's 28 years. You're a baby. Calm down. We have a new kid at work, and he always talks about how old he is. And I'm like, you just turned 22 like a week ago. You're a baby. Go away. Leave me alone.
It's so funny. To be fair, I remember, it's so interesting because I have two younger brothers, so I measure my age by how old they are. And one of them's 20, the youngest one's now 21. And it was only then that I was like, huh, so I'm not 21 anymore. Like, that's what this means. So, you know, 26 is not old by any means, but I look at him and I'm like, oh.
My oldest niece will be 14 this year. And I'm like, what? Oh, what is happening? Oh, I can't. I remember her being born. It was like a week ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
What has happened in time? Oh my gosh, Phoebe, it's so close to your birthday. She's 25 in 2 weeks.
Yay!
We're going to have to throw a little party for you in our chat.
What day is your birthday on? Because my birthday is legit in 2 weeks. Like, legit. Now I'm curious. Like, now I want to know. Are we birthday twins?
That would be amazing.
Can we be birthday twins even if we're not?
We'll just
oh no, it's the 13th of June. No. Mine's the 8th. Oh my gosh, that's a week from now. Just kidding. But still, so close.
So time moves so fast now that we're so old.
No, we're so old. It's this project. It's like, it has fried my brain. Anyway.
It's fair.
Yeah. I don't know how we all got talking about ages and cool stuff, but hey. There are a lot of Geminis in this chat. Whew. Yeah, more and more.
That's what
Uh,
through the comments before we were starting to talk about ages and see if we missed anything.
Sarah Parker Ford, her birthday's in 2 days. Does that mean your birthday's June 1st? Because I think that's 2 days from now. Someone's dad's birthday is June 8th. Someone's boyfriend's name is June 8th. Woo, it's getting interesting in here.
Well, I feel like, you know what? We're coming up on the hour-and-a-half mark. So I feel like we've done pretty good. I don't have any other questions for you about screenwriting. We answered all of them to the best of our abilities.
To the best of our abilities. So when do you think you would get back to script writing? Do you have a plan, or are you like putting it over on the shelf to hang out for a little bit?
You nailed it. It's on the shelf to hang out a little bit. Yeah.
Mine's not going on the shelf to hang out for a little bit because it was 2 pages of nonsense, but I will try again in the future. But I do want to focus on, as we discussed today with what I'm working on, I have 4 projects currently in action in one way or another. So I should probably work on that and and not start new things. But I need to experiment, and I am going to continue doing experiments and writing different types of things because I think all it does is expand your ability to do things, and that makes you a better writer. So
I think so too.
I will continue to do experiments.
Yeah, and that's what in the comments, let us know what kind of writing experiments either you've done before or you would like to do in the future, and we might steal some and also do them.
I have my list of somewhere I have my list of ideas because you know my planner's sitting in front of me, so why not?
Yes.
First, you have to find it.
That's always the hard part. Well, and I know recently, so I also have like 4 different projects that I'm trying to juggle at a time, and I'm hoping that once I finish the revisions on Project Purple, I can like put that one to the side to breathe for 2 months. But I'm also trying to look into like a little bit more businessy sort of stuff. So like I'm trying to fix up my website here soon, and like I'm learning from Becca how to do formatting and InDesign and like audiobook stuff. And it's just like I feel like I'm having to do 2 separate brains for like writing and for business stuff, and it's all stuff I haven't learned before. So that in itself is difficult, much like the screenwriting experiment was. So yeah, I just don't have time to keep attempting my poor little script.
I have short stories, which we've discussed that I plan to do. A story without dialogue, which comes from the discussion that I write dialogue very well, but nothing else well at all.
Yes.
Typically. So a story without dialogue to get everything across with no dialogue. Right, like it's fan fiction, which we discussed. Doing nano with sprints only, which we've discussed, which is what I'm going to do for nano this year. Is I'm only going to write during live sprints.
Yeah.
And see if I can get to 50K, which may mean that my channel may just be like straight live sprints all of nano. But really the goal was to see if because I hear a lot that like there aren't enough sprints being done.
Yeah.
So my goal is to see if there are enough out there to get 50,000 words if that's the only time that you write.
I think that's going to be so fun. I'm so curious about that.
It's going to be interesting. So, I mean, definitely something that we can look forward to. Now I'm going to look and see if anybody answered your question. Okay.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, oh.
Let's go read and not look at the screen.
Cheryl was joking. Screenwriting, is that what we're here for? Yeah. You know, with any of these AuthorTube chats, we have a topic. We do talk about the topic, but we also talk about a lot of other stuff.
There's usually other things going on in the world that we want to talk about. So, Cheryl also says, I want to write 5,000 words in a day, but I don't know if I can actually do that. I think that's a solid goal. Like, I would love to write 5,000 words in one day. I may do that the next time we do a 12-hour write-a-thon, but who knows?
Yes. ugh, because I'm crazy, I've been thinking recently how fun it would be to attempt the 24-hour write-a-thon again. Because I'm crazy, I learned when I did that last time, it was a bad idea. But in my head, I'm like, I should do it. I should do it again. Stop me, Jessica.
I'm honestly sitting here like, why? Why would you even?
There is no reason, but I want to do it.
I would be like more apt to say like a 36-hour write-a-thon where you sleep in the middle. That's like you have 36 hours, but you're only really writing 24 of them. That way you can get a nap in.
That's a good, you know what? I mean, I've done 12 and I've done 24. Haven't done 36 yet.
So you're like, it's like, because like I did a 24-hour readathon a few weeks ago. And I mean, I slept for 10 hours of the 24. I didn't intend to, but I did.
Yeah.
Whenever I sit still for too long, if I'm comfortable, I fall asleep because I'm always tired. So I slept for like 10 hours of my 24, which means that I really was only like a 14-hour readathon. So if you do like a 36 and you can sleep in the middle. Also, I feel like if you're doing 36, you are more likely to write 24 because you have to like stop to eat and shower, and you usually go for a walk in the afternoons or in the evening. So you're probably actually closer to actually physically writing for 24 hours.
I think you're right. I think that's true.
It's a thought.
I like it. See, and now it really will happen because that doesn't sound as bad, even though I think it'll be no less mentally exhausting.
Don't do it before Nano. That's all I can say.
That's a good point. I said 72-hour write-a-thon.
Sarah says, Jessica, watch the episode Hush from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Seen it, freaks me out to this day. You have not watched Buffy, not like
I have not seen that episode.
It is like the one episode of the show where there is like zero talking. There are these monsters that come to the town and they take everyone's voice. So I think you hear a little bit at the beginning and like a little bit at the end, or maybe none at the beginning and just a little at the end. Either way, like the entire episode is just people conveying emotion and everything, like writing on chalk and like acting things out. And it's a really good episode. It is like one of the best episodes and one of the creepiest episodes.
Oh, well.
It's my favorite, like for sure. But it's in season 4, so it's like you have to watch the rest of them first, Kate. Gosh. With all that time you have staring at walls.
Yeah. You know what? I realized I could just respond. I see Claire asked if I do the 24, 36-hour readathon, will I let people know ahead of time so that they can try the experiment at the same time? And yes, I will let y'all know. And I typically kind of post updates on Instagram. I'm very hit or miss on social media, so if y'all have reached out, I do apologize. I eventually get through things, but it takes a while. But I do tend to post during those write-a-thons how I'm doing, like, each hour.
Well, and I think that some part of me is like, if I'm doing this 12-hour write-a-thon and I'm filming like for a later like a video that I'm going to post later, I can always scrap that video and pretend like it never happened.
Just pretend.
Because I did that with a reading vlog I was doing a couple weekends ago. Like I just scrapped it and walked away. But if I'm posting while I'm doing it,
right, you can't really scrap it.
It's out there. You can't walk away from it. Like it's already started. Like you have
to. That makes me feel committed. Like
I need it that way.
Yeah, I need that external push sometimes.
And I think you do. You post a lot more on Instagram than I do, and I post a lot more on Twitter than you do.
Yes.
But I am horrible about both of them. But it's in my planner now.
Ooh.
It's one of my goals is to be better on social media. And like, even if that's just actually sharing my videos when I post a video, because I never do.
Me neither. I should probably.
In my planner.
Yeah. Also, this is just like a general polling question because that's what I feel like I need to do at this point. If I'm not on Twitter, should I like tweet out something and then pin it to the top of my thing? Like I only check Twitter like once every 2 weeks.
It wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'll do. Like I'm so sorry.
I mean, especially if someone is trying to get into contact with you, I don't know why they would be, because you're such a horrible person. Like, why would anybody want to talk to you? It's horrible. But like if somebody's tagging you in something, or I mean, it would be good to know that you may not see it.
Respond for a bit.
For
yeah.
a while. Yeah.
Okay. I will do that then. Good call. Well, all right. Have we exhausted our chat for this evening?
I'm ready for a nap. Social media is like the worst place for writers. We just don't have time. You are not wrong. Claire says you can also change your name to On Hiatus.
I just saw on semi-permanent hiatus is what it'll be. But yeah, that's a good point. I will totally do that. Thank you so much. I'm literally, once we finish this, that's what I'm going to go do.
I mean, that's actually a really good idea. So people know that you're like not really there.
Yeah, MIA. Thank you so much for that. I will do that.
Thank you, people who remember to have a better idea of what to do than us.
Yeah, you smart people. But all right, I think that's going to be it. I see Apricot Stone says, this has been such a fun live stream. Yay! It has been a lot of fun. I'm so glad you guys joined us, and we're totally okay with the fact that we both failed at our experiment.
If you guys have any suggestions for what we do for next month's chat, make sure you leave that in the comments or in this chat. Or you can tweet Kate, but she'll see it 2 weeks from now.
Right. Yeah, on hiatus.
On hiatus. And it'll be on my channel next month. So, and we'll let you know a date when we know a date.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see y'all next month or in a video on our channels.
Probably.
All right. Bye.
Bye.